Sweet surrender as I love, serve, and remember.
So my mom, when she was about in her mid-50s, we grew up in snow country. We grew up in Cleveland, Ohio, on the lake, got a lot of snow. And she grew up in Pennsylvania, mountains, a lot of snow. And she realized she had never learned how to ski. So she just decided one day, I'm going to learn how to ski. So being always cold, she's a little person and was always cold. So she does what she loves winter. She puts on her snow pants, and she's got all 3 layers of sweaters and coats and the mittens and the gloves. So she goes and she shows up at the ski resort and she says, okay, I'm ready to learn how to ski. But she can't even bend over to put on the boots because she has so much stuff on. So they help her get her boots on. And then so they go out to the baby slope to teach her, and she falls over, but she can't get up because she has so much clothes on. And she's like, help, help. And that was my mom dreaming on to become a skier. There was a question we used to do when I was in prac training. We'd have people sit across from each other, and they would ask each other 2 questions. It would start with, who are you? And the person has to respond. And then they just kept asking, who are you? You respond. Who are you? You respond. And so it's just to keep you going, like, who are you? All the different roles, and then it starts to get hopefully deeper and deeper of who am I, and really coming from a deeper place. So when I was working with my practitioner, she continued that work, and so she was asking me to really work with this who am I question. I've talked about it in previous talks, and that was a very powerful practice. But she always also had that second question that she asked me to journal about, who am I and what do I want? One of the biggest issues for people is to know what we want. They say that, I think it's changing as generations go on, but finding out what we want can be challenging, especially in the past. Women have had trouble doing that because a lot of things were very prescribed for them. We have being, so spirituality is about being. We accept everything already is. Love just is. Peace just is. It is unchanging. It includes all time and space. So the eternal now isn't just about now, in this moment. The eternal now is all time and all space. So right now, all the past and all the future is contained in this one moment and now. That's how vast the presence is, and it just is. It contains all of it. The peace, the power, the love, the joy. It's all as divine being. But the divine is also creative. So it can't help itself. If we look at this incredible planet and we look at the universe and the galaxies, I'm just listening to there's 400, just trillions of galaxies. It's crazy. It's constantly creating, because that's also who we are. We are made in the image and likeness of pure spirit. And that isn't, sometimes I hear a lot, well, we're just beings. We're not human doings, we're human beings. And I think we say that because we're out of balance. We do, and we're reminding ourselves, no, we need to be. And so a lot of spirituality is just about learning to stop, be present, accept everything as it is, stop striving, just be. And that's all true. But we also need to strive, because that is an inherent part of who we are. We were born into this earth as a creative being, not just a being, but a creative being. So not a being that wants to generate, that wants to create. And so we need to look at that part of our life. So when we say, who am I? That's the question that's a being question. What do I want is a creative question. And so one of the things I learned from my mother when I was a kid, I don't remember what I said to her. I think I said something like, I'm just really happy right now. I don't really want, just as everything is, I'm really happy. And she, that clearly agitated her. And she said, oh no, you can be content, but don't ever be satisfied. And she was so strong on that. And what she meant by that, and she explained it, she said, you want to always be growing. You always want to be becoming someone different, going past your boundaries. If you're just being, you're not going to grow. You're not going to evolve. And over my lifetime, that's all I saw from my mom, was someone who was constantly growing. She grew up on the wrong side of the tracks, meaning the lower socioeconomic row houses in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, just outside Philadelphia. Her dad worked for Bethlehem Steel. He never had more than an 8th grade education. He grew up in Scotland and started playing professional soccer with the Glasgow Rangers. And Bethlehem Steel brought him over to bring soccer here. So he didn't have the education, but he had soccer, and he fell in love with my grandmother. He stayed and worked at Bethlehem Steel. My mom said she doesn't think there was a single book in her house. My grandmother had a high school education. So my mom was a singer. She loved to sing from age 3, singing in churches her whole life, school plays, performances, played the piano. Her teacher already had a talk with her in 4th grade. Barbara, you're overextending yourself. I'm like, Mom, that's pretty good at 4th grade. You're already learning. But she was so full of life. So she loved all this musical stuff, but her father, being sort of a Scottish Presbyterian, old values, said, no, you can't do musical theater. That's lower class. And so she also, with the striving, also always wanted to be a good girl. Maybe it was all those years being in church. She just really wanted to be good. So she didn't do musical theater. She did music all through college, but it wasn't going to be a profession. She went to Penn State. She said the only 2 options really for her that she felt were nursing and education. She became a elementary school teacher. She did not like it, but she didn't know what her choices were. She met my dad. Now my mom had striving, and her striving was not for money, but for education. She always loved people who were educated. So she met my dad on an airplane. They met over Mozart. She had an album on Mozart, and they started talking. I have their letters from when they first met because they didn't live in the same city. They're awesome, treasure chest. Love the way they communicated. It's totally same values the whole life. And my dad was a Princeton grad, top of his class at Harvard Law School. She could not believe someone like that would be interested in her. So the way their marriage started was they had the same values, but there was definitely he's way up here and she's way down here. And she approached it that way. She's like, I don't know why he would ever want to marry me. I don't know. She felt completely unworthy and deferred to him constantly. I didn't know. This is all stuff I learned later because that definitely was not when I was growing up. I was the 4th kid. She grew. So she would go to a book group, and it was all of very educated people. She wouldn't open up her mouth. She was afraid to do a lot of things, but the one thing she did love to do was music. She became part of the Cleveland Orchestra Chorus. Robert Shaw was the conductor, who was a well-known orchestra conductor. And but by the 2nd child, my dad's like, when you leave, you're gone, because Cleveland, it wasn't down the street, it was in town. You're gone till late at night, and there's no one to put the kids away, to bed. The day and age where, it didn't even occur to him do it. So, they could have gotten a babysitter, but he was pretty clear, it's time for you to settle down, stop doing your music thing, and be home. And she did it. So she gave up her music, never went back. I think that between her dad and my dad, her husband, it's just sort of, she did it on her, would sing in her bed all around the house, but never would do it out again publicly. And then over the years, so she got involved in education. She became the PTA president. She got really involved in our church. She taught Sunday school classes at different years for all 4 of us kids. She became head of the capital campaign every year. She and her co-fundraiser was Dick Pogue, who was the managing partner of Jones Day, Reeves & Pogue, which was the 3rd largest law firm in this country. And so she's in this place where she feels very inferior, but now her personality is coming out. She's president of PTA. She's beginning to build some confidence. So they build a really great rapport. And so she's always putting herself in positions where she's growing. Remember what she said, never be satisfied. Her whole life was that. She was always pushing the borders. And then she joined the League of Women Voters, became the president of the League of Women Voters. But there's always this dual thing. We saw the very confident mom at home. But it was clear, as confident as she was, she still deferred to my dad. He was the authority. And I also have her letters to my grandmother, also amazing treasure. And she's terrified. Anytime she's got to go into a position I don't think anyone's going to like, I think I'm going to totally flub this up, I do not think I'm smart enough to do it. I mean, all this fear, which we never saw, but infused, and by the way, infused her until the day she died, that whenever she was around professionals, she always felt a little less than, and would keep her mouth shut, even though at home she was quite vocal. So I saw this part of her that was always striving to be better. And then when I was in high school, I'm the youngest of 4, so she's coming to the end of being a mom for kids at home, and she's asked to run for the State Board of Education. That's in Columbus. We're in Cleveland, and my dad said, yeah, no, that's not going to work for me. You need to be here. I don't need you to be going down to Columbus. And I think that was sort of a breaking point for her. She was tired of people telling her what she couldn't do. And so when I went off to college, she and my dad separated and eventually divorced because their values were always right exactly. They never even had to discuss exact same values. They were friends to the day he left the planet, always. And but when she went out on her own, taught herself how to ski, total failure at the beginning, but the next thing I know, she's going to Jackson Hole, Wyoming to go skiing. Oh, she's in Switzerland skiing in the Swiss Alps. She's socializing with everybody. She has 1 million marriage proposals. She's not interested in any of them, but she's so full of life. She's always pushing herself. She's pushing herself, like, what am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to support myself? But she was always growing. And this was in her 50s, in her 60s. So when people tell me, I feel so old, I'm like, your life is just starting, baby. I mean, it was such a great example for me that we are still, it's all a mindset. And if you have the mindset of striving, we'll always grow. It didn't matter, and this is the point I want to make for all of us. A lot of times, like we heard the talk about, the reading about purpose, like I have to know my purpose. It's like it's a career. Purpose is not a career. A purpose is who you are. And your purpose is to be who you are, and who you are is who you are in all situations. So as I watched my mother, she strove to make our home excellent. When she went into the school system, she strove to make that excellent. When she went to church, she gave everything and participated in church. She was always giving in excellence, so she was always growing. No matter what situation she was in, she was becoming more of herself. She was finding her voice. She was finding what she liked. She wasn't waiting and saying, I'm going to figure out what I'm going to like. She just dove in and put herself around people that she felt completely inferior to. But she said, I want to grow in that area. I want to become better at this. She had no desire to become a lawyer, but she was around it to help her own development. And so the question we want to ask ourselves is, where am I striving? The lesson I'm offering from my mother is, where am I a little unsatisfied? Content, but do I have an area of my life or areas of my life where I just feel a little dissatisfaction? And am I willing to strive in that area? I was listening to a talk with Reese Witherspoon, and this is after the Me Too. And it wasn't about Me Too, but I think I was just listening. I was paying more attention. And she said something that it startled me, because it's not startling, but it startled me. She was saying, I have a lot of ambition, and as a woman, I felt I had to hide that. Women have ambition, but I felt I had to have it I just want to have good parts, I want to be an artist and express myself. She said, no, I have ambition. I want to succeed at many levels, at the highest level, and I'm tired of not saying that out loud. And then I looked up the word ambition today, and it's just wanting to succeed at something, picking something you desire or want, and to succeed at it. And I'm looking at there is nothing negative about ambition. But it becomes, then I started thinking about what women have I known that are very overtly ambitious, like I want to rise to the top. I want to be whatever it is, or because my mom was overtly ambitious. We all knew it, all the kids knew it, but it was just to better herself, to become more of who she knew she already was. So even the fact that Reese Witherspoon, who is younger than I am, who's grown up in this, is still feeling that, I'm bringing it up to us just to be conscious of it. Where do you land on that for yourself? Are you okay with yourself having ambition? I'm looking at very successful women right here in the front row here. Are you uncomfortable, and where are you now? I love that question. What's my growing evolutionary edge? Where am I striving? And that's not dependent on anybody else, because it all comes from within us. My mom, remember telling me a story when she was little. She was walking to school. She goes, I just stopped. I had a brown checkered skirt on. I was looking down at my saddle shoes, and this thought hit me. This world doesn't owe me anything. Anything that's going to happen is going to come from me. That level of empowerment from an elementary school, and that's how she lived. We all watched it. All of her kids watched her generate that creative essence within her to become more and more of herself. Still, even with all her feelings of inferiority, of not being enough, not being smart enough, not being educated enough, not enough, not enough, and not enough. And yet she still did it. She still sewed up and fell flat on her back in the snow and had no idea what she was doing. But then she showed up again the next day for her next skiing lesson. But that's because she wanted it. And I love the skiing story, and because it's not just about working, it's playing. Is there areas that you want to play in that you've never played in? Where are your cutting edges? And it can be multiple levels, but where is it now, today, in this moment? What's that place that you want to strive and become more of? So the talk today is striving ideally and ideally striving. So that's embracing our striving nature, because creative nature, I love, I believe it was either David White or Brian Swimme. One's a cosmologist, one's a poet, kind of the same. But they were saying that in order for creativity to happen, you have to have some beingness, the relax, but you also need to have tension. They say creativity if you don't have some tension, the creativity isn't going to happen. So embracing your life, just a little bit of tension. Where's there a little bit of tension? Because that's good. That's the creative energy that starts generating new life. And we can all we grow and we plateau, we enjoy an area, and then we grow. You might be on a plateau, like I've done enough growing, I just need a little plateau time. That's cool. Just know where you are, and then grow. So that's striving and embracing, and striving is that creative energy that creates something new. You can't create something new without striving. Okay, we're all on the same page with that, okay? Then, the second half of the talk, or this talk, is ideally striving. For some reason, in my head, popped the PBS show that I watched in the 70s called I, Claudius. Did anyone else see that? I knew the Staleys. Of course they saw that. Did anyone else see I, Claudius? Okay, so it's a PBS series back in the 70s. I don't know, I can't see you all. Maybe someone online also saw it. My dad, a history person, so of course I watched it to learn Roman history. Now, have any of you familiar with the first Roman emperor, Augustus? Is the name familiar? Yeah. Is the name Livia Drusilla familiar? This is why I'm bringing it up, because I watched this program. I was in elementary school. That's like a lifetime ago. I can barely remember elementary school anymore. I never understood when people said that, but the older you get, it's so far away. But I remember of the show, I remember two people. I remember Claudius, who had a stutter, and I remember Livia, and I'm like, that can't be her name. So I looked it up this morning. It's her name. It's something I watched in elementary school. I couldn't tell you a single other person that was in that character that was about. I didn't even remember Augustus. But Livia, I remembered. Because Livia was Augustus's first wife, his only wife. She was the first empress of the Roman Empire. And man, was she powerful. She got stuff done. She was constantly getting Augustus to do what she wanted to do. There's some theories that she got people killed so her son Tiberius could be Caesar. I mean, she wasn't, in the show, they didn't make her necessarily the nicest person. And I remember that as a girl watching it, how much power she had. I'm just watching, I'm like, that's why I remember her. All these years later, it stuck out to me so much. Like, that is a woman with a lot of power and knew how to use it and get what she wanted. And that was, on the one hand, really cool. On the other hand, I was quite troubled because she was a little bit evil, or a lot evil. I wasn't quite sure. But it was, and so the reason, I say this for two reasons. As a woman, and I talk about women, we often talk about being a woman in terms of we're always a victim. Women have been strong forever. It's not like suddenly we're strong. Our roles are changing. We're being more visible. We're demanding more money, equal pay, all of that stuff. But also women can be evil or wrong. And I say that because this is like a year ago, one of my colleagues was like, just let the men step aside and let the women lead, because if the women lead, it's going to be all good. And that's just crazy. Every one of us is capable. We all have egos. And I think men and women, it doesn't see gender. And I'm going to go on a sidebar because I think it's important. By the way, the striving that my mom was, that's associated with masculine energy. And yes, when we were doing Men Are From Mars, Women From Venus, she answered a lot of questions like the Mars people. And that's to say, this whole non-binary idea has always been there as well. I talked to so many of you you can look at your parents, and it's not like men are just this way and women are, we all have this flow and always have. That's not new. And women having power is not new. Seeing women's power, that might be new, or not might be, that is new. Seeing the power, but it's always been there. And that's what Livia, I think that's why I always remembered her all those years, like, oh, this is a really strong, she's stronger than all, I didn't remember a single man, other than Claudius, but I remembered her. But it can also not be good. So if you're just talking about striving, I think that's where the negative idea for whoever has ambition can get negative, is it's only ego striving. Striving is good, but then we also want to look at it ideally striving. Really connecting with our ideals. That's really an important thing. Listening to our soul. The way I look at it is the striving is the front door. Remember I was talking about the front door. As you come in through the front door, you announce yourself. The ideals often come in through not the ideals, but the listening, the way we're guided comes in through the back door. The soulfulness comes in through the back door. I'm reminded of a reading we did here a few weeks ago about it was John O'Donohue from his book Anam Cara, and he said that soul doesn't like the bright lights. It doesn't like the front door. It likes candlelight. It comes in through the back door and reveals itself. The back door is where our soul starts to be heard. Where we're saying, okay, we can do all this striving, but without that soul guiding us, it can become incredibly egotistical and self-centered, or self-serving or group-serving, ethnocentric. It's my people. I'm here to serve my people. And when we listen to our soul, I'm pointing back here from the back door, because you can't see it. You have to feel it. You have to intuit it. And it's in candlelight. It's soft. It's subtle. But we start tuning into it, and it's going to guide us in a way that just our front door conscious mind isn't going to guide us. It's going to start telling us things that we would never know. The soul knows us better than we know ourselves, and we have to listen to it. And we have to really be attuned to it. So my mom, when she first left my dad, she hadn't worked since her early 20s. She's been a housewife for 30 years. So she didn't really have anything to put on her resume. And so the guy who she did the capital campaigns every year with at church, the managing law partner, he's like, oh, you're great. I'll hire you in my law firm. You're a paralegal now. She had no training. He's like, oh, yeah, but I know you, Barbara. You'll figure it out. And so she got her first job from doing her volunteer work as a paralegal. So she's making good, she did. She figured it out as is her way. Getting paid good money. So here she's got a well-established job that you can go out to people and say, I'm a paralegal. But she hated it. Because what happened, the thing that she learned for those 30 years of doing all volunteer work, is she loved to be of service. And she felt, so she was striving and having success, but she was missing the soulfulness. So she went back to school, went to the Mandela School of Management at Case Western Reserve, got her certificate in nonprofits, and started working at nonprofit agencies to raise money. So now she was using her skills again. She could get paid, but doing it in a way that serves her. The soul, I truly believe the way we heal this planet is listening to that soul, because the soul knows if we follow it, if we are following it not just from 5 years ago or 10 years ago, but right now, are we listening to it? Are we following its guidance in our striving? Because when we do that, that's how we are participating in the healing of the planet, because the soul knows what's happening in the planet. The soul is so clear. The planet has a soul. Countries have a soul. Global worlds have a soul. Nature has a soul. It knows so much more than we will ever know consciously. So if I'm only striving based on my own needs, I'm missing the reason why I'm on this planet. And it matters. If we want to heal this planet, if we're agitated by what's going on, we can just I'm going to go out there and I'm going to go out and fix it. And I actually recently got off social media because I closed my account, because I was so tired of getting on there and people yelling about how horrible the world is, and we got to do this, and we got to do this, and we got to do that. I'm like, no, that's not, you can't, first of all, tell people what they're supposed to do. I don't like people telling me what to do. So I got off Facebook. Because we can have all these wonderful ideas. When I was at Agape, the most creative community, people come and create and create and create. But there was a rule, Reverend Mike, and he was rigid about it. It was not flexible. If you had an idea of something you wanted to do at Agape, you had to spend 6 months with a group of people visioning on it. You had to be listening every single week, not just once in a while. You had to prove to him, too. Write it down. The days the weeks that you met. I mean, he was because people were always after him. He had thousands of people. Oh, we could do this. Oh, we could do this. Oh, we could do this. Shh. Stop. Listen. And listen not just once. Week after week after week after week after week, you're listening, and you're not listening by yourself. You're listening with a group of people, so you allow a lot of different perspectives to come in, and you're listening, because anyone who's been in meditation, you know that there's layers, and you can get that surface, oh, I just listen, and I get this, and I get that. But the more you do it, the deeper and the deeper and the deeper and the deeper you go, and now you're getting to that soul call. And what he found was if people had to do 6 months of listening, most of the ideas just fell off. Nah, I don't want to do it much more. It's so easy to say, we could do this, we could do that, we could do this. But to really listen to the soul, to honor that soul within us, means to go into that candlelight dark place on a regular and consistent basis. Listening, opening, hearing. Because when we start connecting with that soul, it's going to give us guidance that our mind probably won't come up with. But it's that very calling that all 8 billion people have. Probably all plants and animals do, but I can't speak to them. And we were born as souls. Our souls have a reason to be here. But we have to listen. You can't skip that step. And it takes time, and it's hard for people to stay that still, so then they just forget it, and they do and do and do, and that's where we go, oh, it's doing, being, doing. But neither one of them matter if you're not listening. So the way I look at it, it's all going to come together. I don't know, I just get so excited about it, because it's like, oh, this is so fun. Because I'm a creative being, and so, This is what I made up for today. Not I, the divine I. Because I didn't intentionally do it, but here we go. The front door is the environment and the structure we would create. I don't know if you remember the talk from the first Sunday, that one of the most important things we do is creating an environment that's welcoming and a structure that's welcoming. So part of that environment is what you believe, what matters to you. That's the stuff you do say out loud. So I'll just say for me, and then you all say it for you. For me, I can come in the front door and say, I love the Lord my God with my whole heart, body, mind, and soul. That's my ideal. I love this presence. That's why I'm alive. It's the only real reason why I'm on this planet is because I love the Lord my God with my whole heart, body, mind, and soul. I can scream it from the mountaintops. I like the sunshine. I wish. And I have no trouble saying that. And because I know it's totally in integrity with who I am. That's absolutely true. And I know that. So that's the environment. I'm saying, so what you believe, what your ideal is, that's the environment you're creating. What you come through the front door and say, you believe, this is who I am, this is what I'm about. That's the environment. And then the structure is have you created a structure to live what you believe every day? So in my case, I made that declaration 35 years ago, got my spiritual practices, and I do my spiritual practices every day as my structure for the environment. As my structure for, okay, I love the Lord my God with my whole heart, body, mind, and soul. Now how do I live it? Oh, here's my structure. Here's my spiritual practices. Those are the structure that carries out the environment. So this is all front door stuff. I can talk about it. I can offer it and share it with other people. It's overt. You can see all of it. That is important. That is essential. Because now, having been very clear with myself and with Spirit what my ideal is, what I believe with all my heart, and can say it out loud without being shy, without hiding it, without then having a context for it, I have actually now created a safe environment and structure for that soul to come in through the back door. If I'm not a safe person, if I'm unclear what I believe, if I'm sort of like, well, yeah, I'm kind of this and I'm kind of that, and I kind of do my structures, but that is not a safe environment for the soul to reveal itself. The soul is very sensitive. It is very sensitive. It is very sensitive. If you want to hear the soul, you have to create the environment. You have to create the structure that makes it safe. And the more you do that, those visions are going to start showing up in your life, whether it's in your dream, whether it can be in your waking life, it could be something you read, it can be in a conversation, and you pick it up because every day you have created your environment, your structure, what you believe, and you live what you believe. And all of that is front door stuff. The soul's going to come in through the back door. Music that suddenly just, and it gets right to your soul. Why did that song get to my soul? Why can't I stop singing this song? It's just pouring through me day after day. What is that? That's your soul speaking to you. It's telling you what you need to do, an area you want to strive in that you may never have thought of with your conscious mind. Our conscious mind is limited by what we know. So when I say I love the Lord my God with my whole heart, body, and soul, I'm saying the God that I know of, the God that I've read in books, the God that I've experienced. It's all based on what I know. The soul is giving me truth beyond what I've experienced, beyond what I have known previous to this moment. I've had all these experiences and knowledge up until this moment, but if I want new information, I have to listen to that which I don't know about yet. And the only way I'm going to be able to hear this new information, this new way of seeing, this new guidance that I would never thought of, this new way of approaching life or making a decision about anything is if I'm paying attention and listening and following through. If you're hearing it and you're not following through, there's no judgment. It's fine. The Spirit, first of all, never judges. This is not we're not in a classroom situation where you get A's and F's. No, we are always loved. We are always loved. Everything is for our highest good. The only reason why it wants you to follow it is for your joy, for your growth, for your expansion, for your creative expression. So it's not, you just go, I wasn't able to follow through. I'll try better next time. You get rid of the judgment. The whole thing is ruined if you judge. Just say. So judge your judger. No. So we listen to that soul. And this is so important for your own joy, but not just your own joy, for the entire planet. Because the one thing that we teach here over and over and over, our front door teaching, is that there's only one power and presence. To really, really grasp that, there's only one. It already is. It already knows. So anytime you start listening to that soul, which is coming directly from that oneness, way beyond what my human mind can know, I am now part of the healing energy on this planet. I am now stepping into my soul call. I don't know if this is true. I've looked at it, but I heard it and it struck me. It came from Mary Marian Morrissey, I think. She said, you can do all the things in the world, but if you're not living and following your soul, it's like you're not doing anything at all. You're just doing stuff, getting a lot of stuff done, but you're not actually healing the world. Healing the world comes from listening to your soul. Your soul. That's where it's at. So the striving, we want to strive, so we have the ideal of striving, of creating, and we do that no matter what. Wherever we are, we strive to become more, bring ourselves fully to whatever situation that we're in, including our own spiritual life. That's all the front door stuff. The striving is creating, what are my ideals? How do I create structures that support those ideals? That's all the striving, but then we have to know our ideals. We want to be ideally striving. All of our striving doesn't start with striving. Well, it can start with striving, but we start really connecting to our soul so that energy of striving is now serving us and every human being, every animal, every plant, the cosmos, way beyond our wildest imagination. It serves all of it. That's how we heal. That's how we heal what's going on today. It does not help to be going, oh my gosh, this is so terrible. That doesn't do anything. All it does is make it worse. Well, it doesn't make it worse. It just doesn't do anything. If you want to be a healing presence on this earth, and if you are concerned about what is happening on this planet, listen. Know what your ideals are. Know your ideals. Know your front door. What do I believe, and how do I create the structure to believe that my environment and my structure, create it and live it. The structure is how you live it every day, way of life. And then listen and listen and listen and listen. And those two things are the marriage of heaven and earth. Those are the marriage of all seeming opposites. That is the place where wholeness, where the separation of front door, back door become one, and there's no separation anymore. That's how we heal ourselves, and that's how we heal our planet. Yeah? Yeah. Let's do it. Yeah. All right, so let's pray. Mother, Father, God, infinite love, intelligence of this universe, we breathe into your light and your power and your grace moving and pouring through each and every one of us. We feel not only your beautiful peace, your presence, your harmony, your beingness. We allow your creative energy to move through and as us, every atom cell of our beingness, our physical life, our emotional life, our mental life, our energy life, our wonderful ideational life. Every aspect of who we are is alive. It is alive, awake, and aware. We don't just show up. We show up with excellence. We show up with a caring and a passion to fully express ourselves no matter where we are, no matter what the situation is. We say yes to this divine loving intelligence because we are here to remember and to live that there is only one power and one presence, and that's why we are here to express our own unique expression of the oneness, to love this presence wherever we are, to give ourselves as this presence wherever we are, to share who we are wherever we are. And as we say yes to that, we open our hearts into the softness, into the tenderness, into the gentleness of the soul that is in the midst of that yes, that is in the midst of that energy, that is in the midst of this creative vitality and energy. In the midst of all of that is this peaceful soul that is even now revealing this beautiful wisdom, this beautiful, intuitive, soft, creative, soulful knowing of how to express today, of what to create today, what to become today. And in all of this, in the beautiful vitality and energy and in the beingness of our soul that is calling us forth to our own beautiful, radiant purpose in every moment of every day, we marry these two wonderful energies in our life and we become the one power, the one presence, the marriage of heaven and earth. And we are the healers. We are the healers and the light and the truth for ourselves, for our brothers, our sisters, our moms, and our dads, and all the words, plants, animals, for all beings, our neighbors, our enemies, so-called, our enemies, the darkness, the light, for all of it, because we have become all of it. We are one, and it is done. In deep abiding gratitude, we just say thank you, thank you, thank you, Mother, Father, God. We release this word into the action of the law, knowing that as this word has been spoken, it is fulfilled here and now. In deep abiding gratitude, we let it be, and I invite you now to join me in saying, and so it is. Amen and amen.
I walk in God.